Yes, we have 5 minutes.
Hmm?
We have 5 minutes.
Hmm.
Yes.
That's right. Also very great. This is a place of redefining standards. This is a place of challenging status quo. This is a place of an invitation to higher life. And higher life for us is dwelling in goodness. And we bring principles and truths that will ground you or create, give you freedom to unlock your true self, where we inspire you to think, to revalidate uh, your life, whether you are authentically living, whether you are purposefully living, and purpose is not such a magnificent thing, it's effortless. And every time your purpose is straining you, you need to go back to redefine it, whether it is really your purpose because it's your nature, and your nature was supposed to flow and not to force and not to distort you. And this is where we bring you and challenge you to live a meaningful life, because meaningful life is what brings you satisfaction. That's what brings you contentment. That's what brings you freedom to be yourself and to be able to find out interrelationship and the richness of our interrelationship, among others. This is where we ask you to live compassionately, and this is where we inspire love to love, to a higher wisdom, where you are internally focused and not externally focused, where you are not driven by the outcome, because we have consistently said outcome is a gift, and you're not supposed to be lived by feelings. You're supposed to make choices that really, really enhance your life to higher life. So we're calling people to higher life. And a higher life really is quite distinct between lower life. Low based life is when I see people react, when I see people judge, when I see people in an irritative mode, in depressive mode, and discouraging mode, that means they are in a lower life. So thank you again for joining me for this 1 hour where we explore dimensions and strategy to live a more meaningful, more purposeful life, so that you can find freedom in being who you are. I'm excited to share some insight based on um, the scriptures, based on references from higher books. I mean, scientific proven principles, and so that we will find fulfillment in life. I'm excited, to share some of this insight. And please, you need to research, you need to study, you need to experiment, you need to explore, you need to be able to expand words, you need to be able to find a way to have alternative route to life, because most of us are in a strict path, and strict path will disconnect you from the infinite possibility that are that comes from everywhere. This is a place where judgment is suspended, because you see, we flow from our neutral mind. We've been on a path, and today we want to consider one significant thing that will change your life. I don't know where you are, maybe in the hospital bed. Um, if you listen carefully, it's going to change um, your disposition in that place. Uh, if you're in a bad relationship, this is going to change you. If your career is dissatisfying, if you think that people are against you, this will change it. If you think you are stalked, this is going to change you. If you think that your life is not meaningful, if you think your life is not purposeful, if you think that you are disengaged in life, go tell you this is going to bring you elevated mind. You're going to come into a higher awareness, you're going to come into higher knowledge. And if you can practice them and experiment them, you will see that there are no coincidences. There are deliberate principles that when you walk, you will find yourself in a good place. We're in a good place by the grace of God, and we're happy about it to share it. And we're contented. We are satisfied, because we know that what we what we what we bring to the table are something that will liberate you, that will escalate you from where you are from that place of discouragement, from that baseline into a higher life. So today we'll be focusing and major on life lens, life lens, life lens, life lens. It's a beautiful place to be, to have some of these discussions that are not conventional, so that we can see how they can jet propel us and transfer us from a lower place to a higher place. So life lens is such a powerful tool that if you engage and deploy consistently on a daily basis and consistently, you will see um, traces of new life. What is definition of life lens? Let's look at it. It said is an object or a device which focuses. So mark the word focus. Focuses or otherwise modify. So you see, your life can be modified today in the direction of the movement of light, because what we intend to tell you is to move from darkness to light. We've talked about it really. We have talked about darkness and light, but what we want to shift it completely from everything that is associated, every attribute, every behavior, every conduct, every disposition that is associated to darkness. We want to shift you. And so what will happen is that your life is about to be modified if you can modify your life lens. What is lens? Is talk about disposition determine the decision or choice. Disposition. I'm going to be sharing fundamental stories about people, how your lens, your inner world lens, will determine your future. People run this life without a disposition. Disposition is what we'll talk about. It is written. Those he foreknew, he predestined. And those he predestined, he called. And those he called, he justified. And those he justified, he glorified. So the sequence of life is fundamentally disposition. Disposition is such a powerful thing that if you understand disposition is like when you wake up, you make an intention or you craft your motive. Let's say, for instance, you wake up and say, I will prosecute life in love. What it means that in life, in that day, whatever comes to you, you have made a predisposition that you are going to prosecute life in love. So if you get into the bus stop or train stop and you miss your train, you are going to prosecute that disalignment, not from the place of a hate or hurt or disappointment, from the place of love. And when you begin to have such intention and disposition from morning, and you're able to execute it, I wake up and I said I persecute life in love. So it means, for instance, if I'm on the road and somehow I have a delay, whether flight delay or whether maybe train delays, or maybe there's a delay in appointment or there's a cancellation of an appointment. Now, my preposition now has been established during my meditative mode or during my reflective mode, during my prayer time, during my worship time, during my time alone with my God, with my source, and all that. So it helps, because now there's a picture within your mental construct, right? So that's why it's important to make an intention on a daily basis, which is a predisposition. I also said I prosecute life in love. I execute action in guided goodness, meaning that my actions, my speech, my expression, my general disposition is funded and fueled by goodness. And when I shift out of that, there's a feeling of disconnect to the true self, because when I speak language, when I act, when I exhibit action that does not relate to this intention, this disposition that prosecuting life in love, you will see that you are discomforting, because you see there's a mismatch, there's a misalignment, there's no harmony, there's no honoring into that. So you are probably not going to be happy. Then I'll say that I saturate my inner peace, my inner self with sustaining peace. You know, so you become so calm in situations where that do not align to your construct or your preferences, or does not represent your wish or your desire or your ascended aspiration. So you see, disposition is such a powerful drive, and it's one of the things that will drive your lens. Is one of the things. It's more like people get into a relationship without a disposition. It's like people going to a walk without the position. And now this position is not externally driven. It is internal. It is your internal focus. It's your lens of life. It's what drives your lens of life. And that's why we are being careful to bring such thoughts that you need to carefully ponder, carefully evaluate. If you don't have a disposition, it's difficult to have a position, because you see, disposition fuels position, and position will influence and control performance. Where your performance is not in alignment to your disposition, you will find out there's a disharmony, and this harmony will create dissatisfaction, and that's where there's a discontentment, and that's why you find out that people are frustrated. So life must be lived purposefully. That's, you have to plan your day, you have to plan your life, you have to design your life. We have talked about either you have a designed life or you have a default life. And design life where you are carefully, intentionally, and mindfully observing that you are in alignment to a preposition. So we say that disposition determine decision or choice. Disposition shape perspective and predict responses. It's so powerful. I mean, so, when I ask people, what shapes your what shapes your decision? What governs your decision? What fuels your choice? And somebody say, how I feel. Well, I mean, how can feelings be the catalyst? What will drive your choices? So if you have a feeling like you're poor, right? So of course you're going to act out of poverty. That's a disposition. That's why it's important. We are talking about disposition. Disposition determines the decision or choices. Disposition shape perspective. So if you want to be solid in your lens life, the foundation is to review, to reflect, and to ponder on what premise of disposition, which is lacking, like it is written. You must have your it is written, and that written must come from a higher source, from your value system, so that once you take that position, that disposition, it becomes a working truth. And that truth that you have, which is the position you will take, cannot be compromised, cannot be diluted, cannot be filtered by external things, and it will drive your performance. So every time your performance is questionable, is irritating, is not satisfying, go back to the starting point. What is the predisposition and what is the position? Values direct perception. Values direct perception and disposes to interpret and infiltrate situation. If you get into my office, one of the things you could see is my value system. I am so mindful around it to publish it. It's not because it's a show or because people, it's a norm for people to display their value system or their vision. There are people who display those things as a monument, just as a show, but they are not life drivers. So when your vision, when your values become the driving force of your life, fundamentally you realize that you won't have regret. Fundamentally, you realize that irritation and lower energies are almost diluted and extinguished, because you see, value driving your perception will give you the solidity of life and give you stability and give you a sense of purpose. So let me bring a concept that I love to read in by a gentleman who wrote to Titus chapter 1 verse 15. He says, it is true that all is pure to those who have a pure heart. And the heart is the container of predisposition, which what we're talking about, disposition. Because you see, the heart is a commander. Guide your heart, for out of it are the issues of life. So you see, it is true that all that is pure to those who have pure hearts, but to the corrupt unbelievers, nothing is pure. To the pure, all things are pure. Their mind and conscience are defiled. So it takes defilement to be able to connect to another defilement. I can explain that. When your life lens is directed by value or divinity, and there are likely going to be opposing ideas or opposites that may interfere with it. That's why I say disposition, position, and function. When your functions are driven by the truth, which is like your value system that have been predetermined and fixed in your heart. Like, say for instance, rightly do it. I wake up and say that no matter how long it's going to take me, I will not take one way. I won't take one way, because I feel that this is abnormal. Is the sense of like there's no dignity in taking one way. Or I have also have a disposition that I will not throw trash on the streets, right? I've also have a disposition like I'm in a place of honor. I will speak as honorable person. These are disposition. It can be said, you know what? I cannot be diseased. It's getting deeper. I can't be diseased. Now, when there are contrary situations like sickness comes in, now because there's a disposition already, now my truth will be empowered, will be fueled, will be controlled by that disposition, which is the written thing. So when I see contrary thing like sickness, I will not say I'm diseased. No. Now you see that there's a truth I'm working. I'm not denying it. I'm accepting it. But I am surrendering to my disposition, which is written. Now my working truth, which is my position at that moment, has already been. So my reinforcement will be how I act in the midst of that sickness. I hope somebody's getting somewhere. Because you see, once I start seeing from that position that has been disposed as it is written, so what it means, I am not going to allow the opposition to influence my lens. But now my position will now control how I see the external thing. This is where life, this is how life runs. So that's what we said. You see the world through your lens not another. Can I say that again? For some of you who think that your parent has abused you or have rejected you, or maybe your mother didn't treat you well, or your dad didn't treat you well, or your boss um, is against you, I think you are taking the lens of your boss and incorporating it into your boss. And that is what will drive and fuel how you feel, how you reason, how you think. And that's why we're bringing this so that you will understand that maybe you have been seeing from the eyes of the world. Is it not time to shift that lens? You see the world through your lens, not another one. Because others' perception feels like a distraction. Can I say that again? Others' perception, others' lens will feel like a distraction. Let me bring it down. Let's say that you have a spouse. Now, okay, your spouse is a planner and you are not a planner, and you have a trip. Now, your spouse might start, you have to travel maybe 3 days ahead. Your wife will say, you know what? I am going to start today to plan. You are not a planner. You are a moment by moment person. When you begin to see from your spouse's eye, you disconnect from the energy that you are wired. And you cannot compare because both of you have different disposition. You see why disposition is. And now you're taking a position which influences and controls the performance, that is action and conduct. This is where people are getting it. That's why when we get angry against our spouse or our friend, because we are taking their lens, or we are forcing our lens to their lens to see. This is the contradiction. It's deep. It's deep. So if you are a planner and this person is not a planner, now you're seeing this person is a distraction. It demotivates. It's not inspiring. That's why you see, when you understand this, you begin to live what we call inspired life. And inspired life are not reactive life. They are not judgmental. They are well-intentioned life. You now call this person, this is the food dragger. Okay, let's say you are an innovator. For example, you know how, if they give you any assignment, the way you run, you can innovate an idea from existing idea. You know how to modify an event, and it looks so simple. Now, if you have staff or colleagues or subordinates, you're likely going to start forcing your lens to their lens. Oh my God, it's different because, first of all, remember disposition, remember position, and remember functionality. So you see how these things are interrelated. Most of the time, they didn't tell us this. And I mean, I'm in a place of leadership. I recall one day, I have fleet of mind. I mean, I know how to turn. I mean, I can get to the office, and the office in 1 second, I can reinvent it. You're likely going to put people under that pressure and distract them, because the way I am wired is completely different from the way people are wired. So where I am wired in has been like a predisposition. And now there's a truth that are associated to the way I am, disposed. Now, which enables me to act the way I act. Now, the moment I start seeing how they see, then I'm distracted. And this is where life is. I can go on and go on and give more examples. This is what is killing nations, families, relationship, organization, because the lens with which, let's even talk about it. Let's say um, you have been exposed to international um, life. You're global, and you see things. The way your lens life has been modified is different from the person that you work in the office. Now, when you have put on that lens of life, it shapes, it governs, it directs, it controls, it influences your performance. Now, forcing it down to people that has not been exposed like your experience, you are now you want to borrow your lens to their loan. It distracts them, it energizes them, it deforms them, it distorts them. And now what you're giving them is what I call distorted lens, because they do not have the disposition, they do not have the position to function from that. And that's why it's very critical for us to understand about lens life. The power of our lens is the compass by which we navigate the oceans of life. Now, when I stay in the midst of people and I hear them speak about the situation, I can immediately access their disposition in life, the form they have taken, what is influencing their interpretation, their relationship, and their definition or the judgment of a matter. Because now the lens will determine their position, their form, the disposition, where they are. So that's why we say lens is a compass to navigate this life. So if you are dissatisfied, you are seeing life from a different place. If you are unsatisfied, different lens. So you see, the same car that is a luxury to you, another person is a scrap. The same food that you think that you have landed, let me give you this. So one day I had traveled and I got this very nice leather shoe, very beautiful shoe. And I mean, for me, it was very ultimate. And I saw another guy who traveled. I knew he traveled. We'd all travel together. And when he threw his leg up and I saw his leather shoe, oh my word. Nobody told me to release my leg because, I mean, now the guy did not see what I was seeing, but I was cocky that I've arrived. But you now see, just showing up with that shoe shows there's no arrival because there's no comparison. I wasn't comparing, but it was showing you that the depth of where you think you have arrived is a shallow to people. And also, of course, where you are also is almost a prayer point to where people are. That's why it's the compass. It shapes our responses. Your lens shapes your responses. Your lens shapes your reactions. You know that there are people who, growing up, their parents have modified them and stripped them of their power of choice because growing up, they had no choice. Their parents forced them from food to dressing to their career to everything. And they did it to be accepted so that they could be seen as, what do they call it now? Loyal children, good children, and all that. And so from that moment, they didn't have a choice. They suppressed their potential. They did not allow them the liberty, the divine liberty of choice to even make, to be outspoken in their house. Now they had now become introverted, but in their true nature, they are not introverted. But by the reason of culture in their house, or by the expectation or the demand in their house, so they have now modified them and now gave them the lens of their parents, and they have been distorted from their originality. Parents, ooh, it's time we think about this. How do we force it? So you see, they are now reacting like their parent, but they are more educated, more exposed. But there's a disposition that has been conditioned and forged in them superconsciously, that they have not been able to reparent themselves, because reparenting is reshaping yourself and taking your own lenses in life and begin to act from who you are, not from what you have been constructed by your parents or the expectation of the society. Now, lenses, you know, influences your choice and decision. It influences your judgment in relationship with events and people. And that's why you see, you get into people and you just think that people hate you. They don't hate you. What happens is that you are reacting by a disposition that had been conditioned previously through experience, that you have not been able to make peace with or befriend your shadow, and it's still controlling you from a very negative point. So what we're bringing here is, how do we embrace a pure holistic? I'm talking about holistic. And I want to talk about holistic. Sometime we're going to talk about living above duality, where people are more negative or people are more positive and do not know how to integrate both of them. Because, for instance, you see, people have admire more light than they admire darkness. But you see, everybody can advance to light, but not everybody has the courage to face darkness with their light. Do you understand? There are many people who want advancement. They want to run outside their shadow, like me now. I mean, I have baggages, or I used to have baggages in my past. But today, I can face my past with the light of my now to my past. And this is what has cultivated and bring in higher aspiration to find a better me, a better version of me. So I celebrate my shadow of life and I embrace it and I thank my past. And I'm so grateful that the past has been able to culture me and refine me, become an instrument of refinement, have become an instrument of empowerment, energizing me to become the better part of my life. That's why I celebrate the past with my light. You see what lens can do. So we want to be able to have a holistic approach to your lens. We want to be able to have more flexible, not rigid lens. In fact, majority of us is just one-way traffic. If it is not that way, it cracks you. And that's not how to enjoy the plural life, the multi-dimension, the interconnectedness. I mean, the varieties and the new dimension of life. You cannot just have a very rigid lens. You need to have flexible life. You need to have what we call the wider lens. Wider lens. Like where you know that, lack is part of life. Pain is part of life. Disappointment is part of life. Not having a kobo or a dime or a dollar is part of life. Rejections are part of life. The pain is part of life. Variations are part of life. Price increase are part of life. Bad government are part of life. Price increase are all part of life. So you need to be able to have a wider, very wider lens that will be able to have a richer life and richer experiences. But you see, what makes us feel that we are warm, when our estimations cannot be able to have such a powerful, such a very magnificent way to live life, is because we have a narrow perspective or narrow lens. We want to be able to have that broader perspective, not because it not only enriches your personal development, right? your personal development. It also gives you a deeper personal understanding. You know, we have lived life without understanding. So the more you have a richer life is connected to deeper understanding. You know, when you begin to not judge things from feelings, but when you go beyond your circumstances to understand, because we know in part. In fact, those who know that they do not know so that they can know. So people who know have a single view of life because you think that you have a comprehensive life. No. So it brings you to a bigger understanding. Now, what it does is that it infuses you to what we call prudence, but also cultivate a fertile ground so that you can have an adjusted growth and elevation. More so, it, it is inclusive. This is where I'm going to be hammering on inclusive lens. Say it again. There's what we call inclusive lens. I started learning about inclusive lens. And that's when my sense of judgment began to drop more, and I became more compassionate and more joyful in approaching life, because an inclusive rate means that you are included. Because people like positive. People encourage to think positive. But you see, there's a dimension of thinking negative in terms of shaping controls. Let me explain. You see, you know, when you have a car in the factory of the car, the whole idea is to give you flexibility and comfort and speed in producing a car. But inside of that, they are also thinking, what if this car crashes? So they incorporate that negative aspect that may have the opportunity to happen because the car might fail. The car, maybe weather condition, maybe there could be snow, there could be cloud. What if visibility? People can fall asleep and a crash. So that's why you see in the car now they will develop like what they call all the safety gadgets in the car. Why? Because there's a reversal thinking. What if it's a negative thing? So these negative thinking are also inclusive. You know, I read something recently on this inclusive life. Let me read it. It's a very wise man who have these position. Give me 1 second. I read this and it makes whole sense. It changes a whole lot. Let me read it from yeah. Read this and study it. Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse number 8. He said, yes, if a man should live many years, which we do, we're already living many years, whether 20 years, 30 years, 15, that's many years. Let him rejoice in them all. Them is inclusive. Them all, inclusive. Yet let him seriously remember the days of darkness, for they are many also. All that comes, why? There's a variation to its vanity, its emptiness, its falsity, its vainglory and futility. What it means, incorporate darkness in light. Life changes. There are seasons. The season to born, there's a season to die. There's a season to be happy, there's a season to be unhappy. There's a season to be accepted. There's a season not to be accepted. There's a season to be rejected and season to be, it's just a compound life. And that's what brings the beauty. That's what will bring holistic approach to land. Don't, I mean, I remember those days where in growing up, in our spiritual maturity, if we have too much comfort and there are no opposition, we feel that we are not maturing, because we had a story that said the good book said it's better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. Because it's in the house of mourning, that means in the house of pain, that you are forged. And we have said that if you avoid pain, you create mess in your life. Your mess in your life is a function that you are not disciplined enough to forge a compass, that's your lens, that gives you self-discipline. You see how they're intertwined. Now, I read another thing that blew my mind. He said, we boast in our trouble. People don't boast in their trouble. People don't boast in their trouble because they are weak, they are helpless, they are powerless, and they are afraid. People don't boast in their trouble. Hey, if you break my heart, I will boast in it. And I'm not speaking from a place of comfort. I'm a man that's acquainted with such sorrowful life. I mean, when we talk about it from a place. No, it is the thing that shapes the solidity of your faith, the grit you have, the confidence you have, the audacity here, the secure life you have, the abundance that you feel and exhibit and experience. It's called it's important we understand this inclusive seeing. People just lost a job. They have forgotten that before they got a job, they were no job, but yet they have a job. Oh, people are, come on. We got to see inclusively. You got to see inclusively. We have to integrate what we call higher energy and lower energy. There's nothing wrong in feeling low, but there's something wrong in staying low. Because we see nature. You see the curve of the sea. There's a time it goes low. It stays there. It's not going to stay there. What happened? It goes high. And that's nature. The fact that you're low, don't see it as a bad place. The fact that you are not where you're supposed to be, or you finish school, you have no job, don't see it as a place of scarcity. The fact that your mates are all married and you're not married, don't see yourself at disadvantage. The fact that you are married for 10 years or 5 years or 2 years, it seems that don't see yourself as a shame. You cannot say, I am ashamed because I don't have a child. Who said that? Because you got to see inclusive is part of life. I don't even know who said that standard, that when a woman get married and 9 months you should be expecting a child. I don't know who said those standards. We got to change. Sorry. You got to integrate. We call it integrated lens of life. And this is powerful. They have so ingrained us that if you're coming to organization religious and you don't have a car, that you're not doing well. We only talk about he's doing well, she's doing well because she's traveling overseas and come back. That's not doing well. What if that person stopped traveling? Can it also be in that vehemency, in that eagerness, in that excitement, in that optimistic? If they can't, that means they are not doing well because they don't have an integrated view of life. I hope I'm helping somebody. Because we have been too slave to material things, to situations, and nobody has been able to unlock the prison of our lens life. And here we are, everything we are afraid. That's what I call the lens of compassion. In fact, that's a new dimension. I can't even go around it. In fact, until you begin to live a life of compassion, you can never suspend judgment. Our major problem is the judgmental attitude that we have towards life. When we are high, we say, hey, we're enjoying. We're going to a certain restaurant, we're enjoying. After that enjoyment in restaurant, you go back to your house. Do you still enjoy your empty house? You see, that's what we call inclusive life. So there's a time you are in the restaurant, and there's a time you couldn't eat in the restaurant. There's a time you are trekking, there's a time you are in the car. You know that there are people who drive in a car. Once they stop in that car, they see their life is a worm. They have crashed down. You have not crashed down. Your lens was only myopic in one side. It was not integrated. It was not holistic. Because life do happen. I mean, I'm from a farmer's house. I remember when my father will during the yam cultivation, there are set of yam, nice set of yam that are kept. You can't touch them. They are buried, and at that moment between that May till about September, it's difficult to see them abundant. But after that abundance, there is after that scarcity that seemingly looked at as scarcity, or we have lost something, they're now abundant. And so that's what they call inclusive, holistic living. That's what we call pure essence, pure living, pure event. And until we see life from this point, we are prisoners. We've got to see life from the lens of compassion. Be compassionate. See yourself more compassionate. We put pressure too much on ourselves. We place demand and put high pressure on ourselves. Oh, we have not got the land. You will get the land. I've got married. You will marry. Life is not about it. I don't have a child. You will get a child. Please see yourself from a place of compassion. That is where there's productivity. That's where fertility comes in. That's where creativity comes in. That's where enablement comes in. That's actually what we call grace. There's also the lens of wisdom. The lens of wisdom. It's not wise that you take substance that you have worked so hard. You take substance that will impact your liver for the sake of you want to belong to a certain class. How? I talked with people a whole lot. I mentored people, and when I talk to them, they thought they have the lens of wisdom. They have the lens of pleasure. And it's quite two different things. There's a lens of wisdom, there's a lens of pleasure. And wisdom is so powerful. In fact, wisdom enthrones more pain, makes you hard, takes a higher standard on you. But when you take this pleasurable part, it's soft. People say, I want soft life. Please, check the wisdom behind soft life. Because maybe very soon I will become like a soft soaked bread that cannot withstand heat. But meanwhile, that soft bread came out from a heat. Without the heat that forged it, it couldn't have been as beautiful as that bread. There's a wisdom of peace. There's a lens of peace. There's a lens of peace. Amen. Lens of peace is so powerful. And now this is not just to men, to your house, to your car. People are so judgmental, are so critical, self-sabotaging. Even they will kick their car, kick their office. There's no peace. There's no lens of peace. Oh, I like this one. The lens of joy. That's our natural habitation. That's where we live. You must see life from a place of joy. Because it's a contentment. It is not what you don't have that creates what you don't have. It is what you have. The appreciation, the estimation of what you have will build momentum to what you do not have. You build momentum. There's a lens of empathy. There's a lens of goodness. In fact, that's where we are. Because we are dwellers of goodness. Our lens is funded, is fuel. The capital city of our life is goodness. We view trekking as good. We view disappointment as good because it enriches our deeper understanding, and because disappointment will reveal our attitude, will reveal our state of mind, will reveal our mental clarity. It will reveal our conscious choice or conscious creation, will reveal our the solidity of our maturity, whether we are growing, and our gratitude life is revealed that. When we say we are dwellers of goodness, it means that we define life from the place of good. I mean, let's look at it. We all say that we are image of God, right? Let me put it. If you are an image of God, that means you are born of God. Meaning that you are in the same class or in the same house, in the same orbit, in the same frequency. So you are vibrating in the same realm. So your energetic disposition must be connected to the source of that, your source, which is God, which is whatever you refer to, right? So it means I'm animating. So let's say one of the attributes of this God, of our God, is goodness. Say, test and see, for God is good. Test and see. Now let me bring an equation to start while we're rounding up. He said he gives beauty for ashes. So what it means that in his disposition, that's where his position means, how do I see things? What is the lens with which I interpret things, which will now deal with my functionality? Look at it. So when he sees ash, he's not seeing poverty. He's not seeing devaluation. He's not seeing discontentment. He's not seeing scarcity. He's seeing raw material that will activate his personality into functionality. Oh my God. I'm going to break it down, you see, because that's what we'll be earning. So when he sees ugly, he's not seeing ugly. He's seeing it from who he is, because he is beautiful. And as an essence and a being, his being influences the situation, not the situation influencing him. This is the disconnection. Because most times, it's like somebody saying, I don't have a car. You're seeing a need. You're not seeing that in you there's a capacity of value that worth more than a car, that if you deploy, you can get a car. But now you're angry you don't have a car because you have not looked at your value, that you are the value of exchange that will bring you this. We always look at need, but not our value system. And we have said that when you wake up, do you see need or do you see value? Because when you are value-based personality, you will see that your value will modify your mind structure and your attitude, because now your value will produce your need or meet your need. Stop seeing need, see the value. Stop seeing opposition, see productivity. You see, weakness will see threats. But you see, strength will see opportunity in weakness. Let me break it down. There was a story told us about our Lord Jesus Christ. So there's an invitation to come and heal a certain personality. And maybe he delayed for 4 days. And when the 4 days came, he visited, and this person was dead. And everybody was seeing a dead person. He was telling them, he is not dead, he is sleeping. They were seeing a dead person, but he was seeing from his disposition that this person is alive. You see, that's a disposition, and his truth was different from other people. His perspective and lens of life was quite different. He now dictated the decision. Now, look at what happened. When he got there, people were going to laugh. How is this going to be happen? Because this person is already stinking. You know what he said? I am resurrection and life. What does that mean? Disposition. What is the working truth? I know. You see that certainty? I know he's alive. What is the functionality? Come hither. And that's how he lived. So you see, he didn't focus on the need. He focused, first of all, on who he is, because it is who you are that define the world. It's the compass with which you interpret and define the world. Have you seen where the problem is? It's the definition. Because you see, we have not got to that point. Let me bring another classical example. There's a woman who has imported a word that we all use. All is well. It's simple for people to say it from a place of hope that is futuristic hope. We have futuristic hope, which is not hope. Hope is a certainty of now. It's not those people say, I'm waiting for future. No, live your future now. She didn't see the dead child. She was seeing a living child. She could not be bothered. She was not intimidated. She was not worried. There was no panic. There was no anxiety. In fact, she was so calm, because those who are sure of themselves do not speak all the time. And men who remain calm have real insight. So we're saying that the insight, I'm going to be dealing with that, what to talk about the internal lens and the external lens in the future. But what I'm saying is, if you don't start seeing yourself from who you are, you will see, the world will show you how to see yourself. And this is the complex. This is the paradox. This is enslavement we have seen ourselves. So the world is giving us lens with which we see ourselves, and we are not functioning because that's not who we are. And recently, I delved into a true nature, which is nothing short of love and goodness. And I've seen myself from that. I see pain from good. And that's where your mental capacity and mental culture shift, because your lens, life lens, is shaped by your nature and not by external happenstance. I'm excited sharing this life lens. I hope I've dropped in something that you need to ponder about, to reflect, research, and begin to modify your lens so that your life will be modified. I'm excited if you join me every Saturday in Nigeria Info, exactly 9:15. I'm dealing with new concepts. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate every one of you who are online in all the social media accounts. Continue to give us your comments. Let's see your own view so that we can incorporate it together. We'd like to have a feedback from you. We'd like to know if this has resonated with you. Please follow us, um, like like us, and share this link. Really, invite other people. It's every Friday. Every Friday. Thank you so much. I hope your lens life will shape your desire life. Thank you so much. I love you all.